Hello, and welcome back to another pen, paper, and ink talk. And yes, today we're going to explore the amazing, incredible, wide variety of ink. And these are 4 bottles of ink from a very well-known, well-respected pen maker of the year, HongDian. And I have 4 examples of their ink. Amazingly, raise your hand if you knew this, they're sold on Amazon in the United States, prime delivery, but still not overnight, at least for most of the colors. So here they are on Amazon. And there's a lot of things to admire about these inks, and we're going to explore them, write with them, test their water resistance, and tell you whether I think they're worth adding to your ink collection if you have one, and we probably all do of some nature. Stay tuned. We will explore these inks. So the first writing I do with a new ink that I'm testing out is I use this glass pen, which is a Delight New Moon pen that has a glass nib you can replace if you don't want to use their steel nib. And I like the glass nib. It works well. It holds a lot of ink. And it's also fairly smooth on the paper. I bought a few all glass pens and they're all broken. So this one has survived years and years of use. And it has a nice cap. So when it's all dried after I clean it, I put the cap on, keeping that glass nib from breaking and getting abused. So the inks, as I expected, are fairly saturated. I don't see any shimmer, sheen, or anything else, but just a nice basic saturated ink. And the burl wood actually turned out a little bit darker from looking at the ink. I was concerned it would be too light, but it is a usable color. Peacock blue is a very nice blue. They're all fairly wet in the glass nib pen, the black being the least wet of the group. And you can see that the burl wood is a wider line, considering all the same nib. So one thing nice about the glass nib is I don't have to worry about cleaning a pen out each time I try to test these different inks. Has the widest line. Teal is kind of thin like black, and peacock blue is in the middle. So talk about wetness of an ink, lubricated inks, etc. Burl wood seems to be the wettest ink of these 4. I don't know which one I'm going to put into a pen because we'll do some pen writing with one of these inks. The bottles arrived safe and sound, delivered by Amazon. And these 3 are the last ones that I got. The first one I got was a black one, but I had ordered blue. And I just opened it up to ensure that, yes, it was actually black, as the label shows. The boxes are shrink wrapped in plastic, which helps secure them in transit. And it worked. So the boxes had labels on them. Here's what they looked like. The other thing I like about this design is the name of the ink is at the top of the bottle, very easy to see. And also the color is very similar to the color that's in the bottle of ink. Good design. So let's examine one of these boxes. At one point in my life, I was a packaging engineer. 60 milliliters, willing to serve everyone who takes a pen. And this acts as a seal, so in theory you break this and open it up, but since I like to keep the seal intact, just like things I like to do, I'm going to open it from the bottom. So this tab comes out, then you open up the box, and I really think this is a great package for a bottle of ink. You have this folded piece of cardboard here at the bottom, which kind of acts like a shock absorber. The bottle slides out. I think it's an excellent bottle, a very wide opening, and if you look inside the box, you'll see there's a cutout for the lid. So the bottle is really contained within this box, and the box is designed to provide it with some type of shock absorption to minimize the potential breakage. Yes, very well done box, and no mistaking the origin. The Chinese characters at the bottom. kudos to HongDian for another well-engineered, designed product. So let's look about this bottle and talk about why I think it's a great bottle. Number one, that design with that large bottom part makes it extremely stable. HongDian Inks. And it's just very good rounded edges. So I talk about good engineering. So part of engineering, the definition that I like, is applied science. But the other thing of engineering is learning what's available for you, material-wise, production-wise, and how can you use that to its best advantage to produce a product that will function and work as well as possible. So I'm assuming that they may not have commissioned a glass bottle maker to make this bottle, but they could have. Kudos if they did, because they designed a perfect ink bottle. And 60 milliliters is a decent amount of ink. It'll last you a fairly long time. Very big opening here on the top. The other thing I love is when you start to uncap, and sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to get that cap started. After about a half a turn, the resistance goes away, and it comes off in less than a turn. And if you look inside, you'll see a very, very nice plastic liner in there, which seals against the glass, keeping it nice and tight and leak-proof. And also that plastic liner doesn't absorb any ink, so therefore it's going to stay functional for a long period of time. And as you can see, that is a very large opening. I don't think there's any pen that won't fit into that opening. And the other thing that the bottle does, kind of like a Waterman bottle, as you get near the end, you can obviously tilt it to get that extra ink out of the bottle before you have to resort to a syringe to extract the ink. So that's my observations of the HongDian ink bottle. So it's time to test water resistance. This is written with peacock blue. Then we have the 4 inks, peacock blue, burlwood, teal, and black. I wrote on copy paper because I think that's the best represented test to see how well an ink resists water. If you write on a coated paper, Tomo River, Carfontaine, Rhodier, etc., you're really testing the ink, how it's going to adhere to a coated paper. So let's dunk this in water, and we'll give it a few minutes and see what it looks like. Usually the initial immersion will give you a good indication of water resistance, and I would say it looks pretty good. You're going to get a little bit of movement, but that's not unusual. Here we are after a minute, and you can see more of the color is coming off, but you can still read it. We'll leave it set for 5 minutes, pull it out, and show you what it looks like. It's now been in the water for about 6-7 minutes. A lot more spread. The burlwood is now hard to read. Teal looks pretty good, and black looks okay. Let's do a little bit of a swishy swish, and let's bring it out of the water. I would say that there's more water resistance than I expected. Peacock blue came out well. Burlwood is readable. Teal also came out well, like the peacock blue, and black didn't lose much color at all. I'm impressed. So kudos on HongDian for giving us some water resistance. Of course, you can see right through in the back because the paper is all saturated with water. So I did fill up 2 pens, the N12, which was filled with teal. You can see it here in the paper towels. I wiped off the nib and the top of the bottle. It's extremely dark. Interesting. See how it looks on paper. And here is the burlwood. It's more yellow and orange in this look. Interesting to see how it'll be on the paper. This is some purple from some other ink pen that I filled up. But, again, 2 completely different looks on the paper towel. So these are the 2 pens that I filled with some HongDian ink, and yes, they're HongDian pens. your N9 and your N12. I showed these on the Pen of the Maker of the Year video. Never did a full review on them. So I learned a lot from filling them up. But the real reason is to write with them. And the one reason why I thought these would be two good pens to use is because of the nibs. The N9 has a nice rabbit nib on it, which is a long blade, so it's a nice kind of a juicy broadside, and it's just a regular fine nib in the N12. Both kind of very nicely done nibs. HongDian's been good at that recently. Nice engravings on them. So let's see how they write. I came to some revelations on the N12, and I wanted to use the N10 here as a comparison. I mean, the acrylic and that turned acrylic that they've made the pen out of is certainly nice with that chatoyancy there, pearlescence. But they did something which I'm not used to from HongDian. This cap is loose. It moves up and down. There's a lot of play in it. Not to the level. That piston is certainly not done to the level. Here, the blind cap is very tight, doesn't move at all, and when you turn it, it takes some effort, where this one doesn't feel that way. So even though it's probably very, very similar, if not the same, piston mechanism in it, it doesn't work the same. And of course, there's no ink window in this one. There's a little bit of a translucency here, so with a powerful light you can see ink level, but not something you normally carry with you if you're out writing. So I'm not as impressed with this N12 quality-wise as I am with like the N10 or the other piston fillers that HongDian has made. So overall, I like the teal ink in this N12. I like the way the fine nib writes, lays down a nice patch of ink. This teal ink is certainly more on the green side of some teals, less blue, but then more blue puts it in the turquoise family. There's a real subtle difference, but I've seen this color in natural turquoise just as I've seen the bluer version of it. So that's how this one looks. Let's look at the burl wood and the long blade nib on the rabbit pen. So this has surprised me on many levels. Number one, this long blade, long knife nib, calligraphy nib, just doesn't write the same way that I'm used to with other HongDian nibs of a similar grind. It's a little drier. It might be the ink, but the ink doesn't look the way that it looked when I wrote with the glass nib. It has a weird lot of color variations to it. It seems to be kind of dry, or this nib is kind of dry. You can see I had to put down more ink to get a nice smear going, and you can see how that color changes with the smear. So I have to admit that I like the fine nib on the N12 better than this long blade, which I never thought I would ever say. Again, it could be the ink. Who knows what the combination is? I flushed and cleaned and prepared these nibs like I normally do. What I might do is floss this nib, do a little bit of smoothing on it, and see how that changes it, but that's for another time. So here's writing, same pens, same inks on Tomoe River paper, and the burl wood did work a little bit better, and of course the teal worked as well as it has worked before. So it's interesting how paper really affects the way a pen writes. So here's some more first writing which I did on Fabriano paper like I use for my pen reviews. And again, the teal comes out pretty good. There's actually a little feathering, but then this paper is not to the same quality. And the burl wood also exhibits kind of that similar characteristic that you saw in the other writing. A mystery, but like I said, I'll work on the nib, I'll do little things and maybe try a different ink. Who knows? That's the fun part of fountain pens. So the water resistance paper has now dried. And as you can see, the peacock blue is definitely readable. Burl wood is pretty well gone. Teal is also extremely readable. And black is also very readable. Just that some of that pigment that came off with water still stuck some other places on the paper. And also you get that kind of like an interesting red. I don't know, I see that with my eyes. So we've come to the end of this ink review. I just wanted to share with you the fact that there are HongDian inks available on Amazon. So if you're buying a HongDian pen on Amazon, certainly check them out. You might find a color that you like. It appears that HongDian, Asveen have a lot of stores now on Amazon. Here's some examples of them. And it's interesting. It's a selling platform that they've definitely taken to and expanded, and that's a benefit to all of us, especially those of us in the United States, Amazon Prime members. It makes buying so much easier, not that we need that. So with that, I hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, your inks, papers. Just the pure pleasure of using a fountain pen brings a smile to my face. Hopefully, it brings joy into your life. And other things, just enjoy your life, and that's the fun part of it. So with that, we've reached the end. Thank you all for watching, and we will say bye until the next one.